Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. You're looking live at PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's a Tuesday edition. We want to thank Sean Kelly, the voice of the Gators, my partner in the booth, for bringing us home today on the program. Buddy will not be joining us today. Buddy's a little under the weather, so we hope Buddy gets well quickly. We'll have Edgar Thompson, second portion of the show. Today will be me getting to a bunch of text messages and other things to discuss. If you missed it last night, Monday Night Football had two games going at the same time for some reason. Makes no sense to me. Saints win and the Pittsburgh Steelers win. Devastating injury to Nick Chubb, very similar to what he did at Georgia. It was just gruesome looking. Boy, you hope his career's not over. But he will be done for the year. Looks like a dislocation, a lot of ACL, MCL tears. Just horrible to see. But anyway, we'll take your comments and questions today. If you missed it yesterday, the Gators have 3 players suspended from the fight or altercation, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the game. They'll be suspended for the first half against Charlotte. Mazuka, Damian George, and Dante Zanders will all be suspended. Congratulations to 2 Gators that were Defensive Players of the Week in the Southeastern Conference, Jordan Castell and Big Cam Jackson. As I said, Cam Jackson and Caleb Banks have made a huge difference in the middle. Much better at the defensive tackle position this year than we were last year. Let's see. Let's go ahead and jump in here. YouTube's not up and running yet, but we'll go Facebook Live. Sherry says, good morning. Good morning to you. Oh, there's 2 games. Greg says there's 2 NFL games next Monday as well. Oh, okay. I don't mind having 2 games, but why have them at the same time? They used to have that one around 7 and one out on the West Coast. Andy asked question here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. How can the AP have the Gators ranked 25th and Tennessee ranked 23rd? Makes no sense to me. Yeah, who knows? I don't get caught up in all them rankings, quite honestly. None of that matters until about 3 or 4 weeks to go in the season. It's because Tennessee was a top 10 team. They're not going to put them all the way behind us, even though we beat them as poorly as we looked against Utah. So if you missed it yesterday, and we'll have Edgar, he was at Billy Napier's press conference. Talking about, having success and what do you do the next week? He feels like they didn't do a very good job last year, which I agree. I think, but they got better leadership on this team. Zach on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, Shane, sorry if you've already covered this. Why would Heupel call a timeout with 9 seconds to go in the game, down 2 touchdowns? I don't know. I don't know if he got upset with Billy calling a timeout before that. But supposedly he apologized to him afterwards, and it's over with and done. But anyway, a lot of people are not happy if you're a Tennessee fan, and I understand why. They got their butts kicked. It's that simple. A lot of people questioning what Josh Heupel did here, did there. But when it's all said and done, Florida was the better football team. I thought they were a better football team going into the game. We got a text on the Titan Mar text line. This is a good one. This is from Bobby in Huntsville, Alabama. He says, Shane, do you think the hit on Travis Hunter of Colorado was a late and dirty hit? This is a big talk all over Twitter and all around the country. I do not. He did not lead with his head. He led with his shoulder. I've seen much worse hits than that. Supposedly this kid and his family are getting death threats from Colorado fans, which is ridiculous. I'd like to know what you guys think. I did not think it was a late hit. I didn't think it was dirty. So that's my 2 cents on it. I mean, think about Major Wright's hit in the Oklahoma game and the national championship. I mean, you could find hundreds of hits that were dirtier and much later than what happened on Travis Hunter. I think he's got a is it a liver issue or spleen? I can't remember, but he's out for a while. But I do not think it was dirty. Tony says Jalen Jones is UNC. It's just Charlotte, Tony. It's not UNC Charlotte. It's just Charlotte. Yes, he has been around the block, folks. He was here. I think Dan Mullen signed him, had some issues. They let him out of his scholarship, I believe. Went to Jackson State. I think he went to Bethune, went to Mississippi Delta Community College, and now he is at Charlotte. Can't throw a lick. Can't throw a lick. Reggie says, I don't know, QB. That Oklahoma hit was bang, bang. This hit, the ball had already hit the ground. Really? I didn't see it that way. Chris says that player was Deion's ticket to a winning season. I mean, time will tell. I don't know, Chris. I think the player to Deion having a good football team is his kid. His kid's an outstanding quarterback. But I think Colorado gets blasted this weekend by Colorado. I mean, by Oregon. More text on the Titan Mar text line. Again, we'll have in a few minutes. We'll have Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Tommy in Savannah says, Shane, I watched several Tennessee YouTube shows Sunday. My favorite comment was, I thought bump and run was for coverage, not tackling. Yeah, you talking about some bad tackling, boy. The Vols, they had some really bad tackling. This is Chris from Mayaca on the Titan Mar text line. Shane, would you say Deion's son is one of the top 3 QBs in America with Williams and Mays? May. Caleb Williams and Drake May definitely 1 and 2, however you want to flip them. Deion might be, I mean, Shadur could be the third guy. I think the NFL, I don't know if he's got any more. I think this may be his last year, but if he wanted to come out, the NFL guys are going to say he doesn't have arm strength, which I totally disagree. The dude knows how to play quarterback. Like I told you, he's got great pocket awareness, throws an extremely catchable ball. He's very accurate. I think he's a really good player. I think that's why Colorado's won the games they've won because they do not have a very good football team. They've been very, very fortunate that they've played some bad teams too. Greg says now Colorado has an excuse when injury when they lose to Oregon. Oregon's just they just can't match up with them. Larry says the sooner Colorado loses, the better for college football. Should all end in Eugene this Saturday. I agree with that. Let's see here. Cedric on Facebook Live brought to you by Melos. Shane, do you believe we have the killer attitude? HBC would have won 60. I mean, you can't assume that, Cedric. I understand where you're coming from. The bottom line is to win the football game. And I thought we did what we had to do in the second half. And if we get a couple more first downs, nobody's talking about this. If we drop back and we get hit on the blind side, fumble, stupid score, y'all are going to be calling my show and other shows. What is Billy Napier doing? So remember, the bottom line is win the football game. Would have been nice to score more points? Yes. But I like their attitude because think about how the game started, people. We had a false start first play of the game. We get a good drive going. I think we got a holding penalty. We overcome that. We go down, we get stuffed, but we miss a field goal. 4 plays, they score a touchdown. So we could have put our heads in the ground and said, we're not a good football team, but they battled back. So Andy says Travis Hunter was hit after the ball hit the ground, and Blackburn shows zero, no remorse, would have walked over Hunter if it wasn't the Colorado sideline. Maybe so. I don't think it was I personally don't think it was a bad late hit. Tommy on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Honestly, Shane, late hit. The ball was clearly passed. I don't think dirty. I just think way too late. Okay, maybe, but it wasn't dirty. He didn't use his helmet. He used his shoulder. But again, people, when you are running 100 miles an hour to defend a pass or to catch a ball, yes, y'all are looking at it in slow motion or whatever with the ball hitting the ground. When a guy's going that fast on a certain angle, you can't stop. And this has nothing to do with Colorado. I could care less what teams it was. I My eyes tell me I didn't think it was anything wrong with it. That's why we all can agree to disagree. Ray says, good news if we had a kicker recruit at the Tennessee game. Well, I would think Trey Smack would be our kicker, but somebody told me he's hurt. And I hope that's not true. We'll ask Edgar Thompson. All right, Daryl on the Titan MR text line. Good morning, Shane. Do you know what Charlotte does on offense? Don't laugh at me. You think Ole Miss upsets Alabama? They could. I don't think Ole Miss can stop Alabama's run game, even though it's so bad. Um, I know nothing about Charlotte. I'll start learning more, a little bit more about them tomorrow. But if Jalen Jones is their quarterback, I have no concerns. Mike says, I was at the game Saturday and they need to coach the fans up when to not make noise. Yeah. Maybe in a lot of the NFL stadiums and other stadiums we visit, when the offense is on the field, they put on the Jumbotron quiet offense at work or something along those lines. But yes, we need to make sure we are not screaming, doing the wave or anything while the offense is on the field. Tony says, looks like they play two quarterbacks, the 49ers of Charlotte. So we'll see. Again, we'll have Edgar Thompson in the second portion of today's program. But most people think that hit was late. That's fine. I don't think it was. I don't think there was any dirtiness in that play at all. So we'll see. We got a text here from Billy up in Jacksonville. He says, Shane, do you have any concerns for the Jaguars offense? I don't. That's the National Football League for you. They didn't get anything going. I think Doug Peterson's a tremendous play caller. He would probably love to have back. I think they did not score any points, or maybe had to kick a field goal. They had ball first and goal on the one. Ran like a quarterback zone read and lost yardage, and then had to kick a field goal, I think. So, no, they'll be fine. You got to remember they played the Chiefs, people. Chiefs are pretty good. They are pretty good. And you couldn't see the Chiefs weren't going to go 0-2. Joseph on Facebook Live brought to you by Melon Law. QB, why does this thing go away? All right, hang on, Joseph. I'm coming to you, brother. QB played for a long time. There's more ways of playing dirty than just leading with your helmet. It was definitely a malicious hit. When you talk to that talk like Travis Hunter, you're going to get stuff from time to time. Look, I mean, I just don't think it was dirty. Like I said, it didn't matter if I played 1 year of football or 40 years of football. I didn't think it was dirty. There was a lot of chippiness in that game, so people probably think it's dirty because of things that were said. But anyway, it is what it is. Tony says, does Mertz have enough eligibility to win 6 Heisman trophies? He might, Tony. He could win 2. He could win 2. We need to let him throw more, in my opinion. Andy says Trey Mack is fine. Trey Smack is fine. Billy answered a question about Trey Wilson right after talking about the kicking. Okay. All right, good. Trey Smack needs to do all our kicking. End of story. End of story. All right. So real quick, another text. I got a million here. I'm just picking a few here and there. This is from Brett in Jacksonville. Shane, only problem I had with the second half was fourth quarter inside the 10. Less than 10 minutes to go. Didn't throw once into the end zone. Yes, and I do remember that series, but I did say the clock was ticking. If you kick a field goal there, you make it a 3-possession game. And like I said, with the way the clock moves now, that's difficult to overcome if you have a 3-possession lead. So I agree, but I also understand, and I even mentioned I had no problem running it 3 straight times, whether we get a yard or not or score. Run clock, kick the field goal, make it a 3-possession game. Remember, it's about winning the football game. JB says the biggest fail Saturday night was the stadium on-field security. I've never seen anybody run on the swamp in all my years. They usually have really good security. Text from Billy. He says the Nick Chubb injury is so sad. I agree. And he also adds here, Deshaun Watson does not deserve the money that he got. He's not playing very well. There's no question about that. So Chris says, I hope they change the clock back to how they used to be. I do too. Maybe they will. Alan, Shane, do you think the SEC will look at Josh's timeouts at the end, the fight, and fine him in Tennessee? I keep hearing of suspensions. No, they're not going to do anything for him taking time out. We have 3 players suspended. I think they have one for a half. It's Mazuka, Dante Zanders, and Damian George will miss the first half against the Charlotte. I almost said the Charlotte Hornets, the Charlotte 49ers. Ted, Shane, are you going to any national shows to set the national media right about Mertz? No. I mean, if anybody heard what I said throughout the summertime, they know my thoughts already. I know I got blasted by some dude that has an SEC podcast that's a Tennessee fan when I said over the summer that Joe Milton, I don't care how far he could throw a football, he can't play quarterback. And that got a lot of traction and I got blasted for it. But that's my opinion. And I feel pretty good about my opinion after Saturday night. What do y'all think? He can't play quarterback. Good thing they didn't go to the other kid. It may have been a different story. They say he's a really good thrower of the football. But I guess Tennessee and their people love pregame warm-ups in shorts when guys can throw it 85 yards. And just Chris wants to know, you were spot on with Mertz. I'm glad Napier can evaluate QBs. I think we dodged one with skipping Leary. I think Devin Leary's a good player. I think Graham Mertz is an excellent player, though. Like I've told everybody, if Graham Mertz was playing here and Steve Spurrier was still your coach, people would be gaga over him. Tony said, I thought for sure we'd see their second QB coming out at halftime. Well, they're sticking with old Joe right now, but as Daniel says, they're calling about benching him. Would not surprise me. All right. Text on the Titan MR text line. Do you fear that this new clock rule will make the second half of games unwatchable, could hurt the game? Well, I mean, you can if you have a good rushing, it doesn't even have to be a rushing attack. If you can just complete balls and keep the chains moving, boy, you can shorten the game. There was some coach I saw the other day was complaining that he had one or two possessions in the entire first half. I forgot who it was, but it's brutal. It is absolutely brutal, in my opinion. They need to do something about it. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. As I said, Buddy is under the weather, so that's why he's not here today. We'll have Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel will join us here in a few minutes. And we'll get his thoughts on Billy Napier's comments from his presser yesterday. I don't know if y'all have seen the folks that do all the little videos for the Gators. I don't know what they're called, digital creators or something like that. It's pretty cool. They got Billy talking to the team, halftime, pregame, and after the game. It's good stuff. Make sure you go check that out. YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Lee says, with many UF support staffers and 10 full-time assistant coaches, do you think Billy and the UF were not aware of the new 2023 consecutive charge team timeouts rule change? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know what that has to do with the game the other day. So anyway. Charles tells me, tell it like it is. Yeah, I try to be as honest as I can, people. Jeff says it's ridiculous that Tennessee only had one player suspended. We had 3. I think Mazuka got suspended because he looked like he was Mike Tyson with this boxing stance, and it was all over Twitter. So that didn't help. That didn't help. Cliff says, I think they keep the clock running after an incomplete pass. No, they do not do that. Lord, the game wouldn't last an hour and a half if that happened. Joe wants to know, what's Kentucky look like this year? They have not been very impressive, Joe. We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but why not? We're not playing or coaching. Devin Leary's a good player. He struggled a little bit. He's come on in the second halves of a lot of games, but Kentucky has not played anybody. I don't know who they play this week, but they've played a lot of FCS schools. I think they played Eastern Kentucky, struggled with them. They played Akron. I think they beat them okay. And then I think Ball State gave them a run for their money. So they have not been tested at all. But we have not played well in Lexington. It's a noon game, which I think is going to be good for us. Wake up, eat, get on the bus, go play ball. The crowds, usually those noon games, I think they favor the road team, if that makes any sense. Andy on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon. Says, Shane, many of the media guys are saying that players on this Gator team are more approachable and personal, although only one road trip. It goes away. Have you had more interaction with the players? I have not. I talked to the quarterbacks a little bit, but I got to stay out of these guys' way. I remember as a player, I didn't want to be talking to a bunch of people, but what I see the difference in this team is even though it's young, it seems way more mature to me and more focused. And I don't know why that is. Maybe because it's year two and everybody's comfortable with one another, even though a lot of these people are new. I still go back to the stability of the quarterback. This team believes in him, and he's a true pro, playing college football. Just on top of everything. Clint wants to know, when was the crowd louder? P. Ryan against Auburn or ETN on his run Saturday? That's a good question for everyone else. When I'm in the box, I can't tell because I have my headphones on. Kentucky does play Vandy, I think, Tony. Maybe Vandy can get them. Text on the Titan More text line. Billy probably loves the new clock rule. Really plays into his philosophy of complimentary football. That's actually funny, but probably true. Yeah, I hate the clock rule. Jay on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Sorry I've been so distant. I've missed a punch. I'm glad to see our Gators with more discipline, effort, and execution. Wasn't championship level, but an improvement over the last year or so. Yeah, this team. I saw it in the summertime. I was like, this team has a chance to be pretty damn good, and that's why I was. I usually don't get mad after games, but I was very mad and disappointed after Utah just because of the dumb crap we did. And he says, when Wilson went out of the game, our offense wasn't the same as Wilson, the 2023 version of Percy. If y'all heard my show, I told you Trey Wilson was going to be a special player after I saw what he did during training camp. He'll probably be out a couple of weeks. Hopefully it's not too severe. It's not broken, but he's had collarbone issues. They'll probably address that at the end of the year. I think they can put these plates in there to help it not break again. I don't know, but need him for sure when it gets time for big time ball. All right, we're going to take a quick timeout. We come back. I know y'all are tired of hearing me ramble, and we're going to be joined by Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. He'll give us a breakdown of everything that Billy said after the game and at the presser yesterday. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar, If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Attention all Gator fans, Meldon Law is giving away a chance to experience the Florida-Georgia game like never before. 2-night stay at the Hilton on the River, dinner at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, 2 premium tickets to the game, and a football signed by Coach Billy Napier, and much more. Go to the Meldon Law Facebook page and look for the VIP experience for 2. Good luck and go Gators!
Understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmett is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. Welcome back to the program. Real quick before we get to Edgar Thompson, Natasha says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, I thought our defense did well keeping up with the hurry-up offense. What is Austin doing so well that is getting them to be on top of things? I think he's a really good football coach. He brings energy. But Natasha, quite honestly, I think we have better players. I think our inside guys are better than we had last year. I think our linebackers are outstanding. They fly around and make plays. They were just on top of things and got after it. All right, let's go to the Titan Mar text line, and we're joined by Orlando Sentinel's Edgar Thompson. Good morning, Edgar. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Shane. Doing fine. Got my yard guy out here and his cranking on the lawnmower. Sorry about the noise.
Oh, that's all right. It's all good. Real quick, you were at Billy's presser yesterday.
Yep.
Give us an injury update. I think most people know because they follow you or other people on Twitter. But let's start with Trey Wilson. No broken collarbone. At least that's what they tell us. He's had that problem, I think, in high school. What do you think? How many weeks could he possibly be out?
I think he broke his collarbone last year, didn't he? Missed 4 games.
It was either last year or sometime in high school. I
think it was last year. He missed 4 games, I believe. But because I think he played 7 games last year. He says it's bruised, and he's not showing his hand. It's going to be a while. He said it's going to be a while. He said it could be this week, could be next week. I just remember Kadarius Toney. Remember when he broke his collarbone at UT Martin, 2019? He was gone from week 2 till the Georgia game. Now that was broken. So when you're a 168-pound guy, playing out on that field, man, that's a pretty big ask. And he looked fantastic for that one series, but got dinged. So we'll see there. I don't know. They can use them. ETN was phenomenal. Pearsall's good, but another playmaker in the mix always helps.
Yes, for sure. Jalen Kimber got dinged up as well, and I want to say Devin Moore. I thought Devin Moore, from what I could see, looked like cramps.
He said he had a calf cramp, and Jalen Kimber, I heard from somebody kind of close to the kid that he's fine.
Okay, good news there. Anything else from an injury standpoint? I know Mertz had hand issues.
I think that's long term. Someone asked him or lingering, or what do you call it? Chronic. he's had the hand issue and worn that glove in the past before this season. He said
Okay.
at Wisconsin he was wearing that thing.
All right.
So
Well,
I can't. I think that's it. But he does injuries on Wednesday, so he doesn't really go there. And right, I'll tell you the big one who wasn't injured is Kingsley. I don't know how. I don't know enough about offensive line play. I mean, I think you probably can watch it better. Or your boy Cooper Carlisle could have watched it and told you, but he tied things together nicely. It looked like the run game was looked better. I mean,
I mean, anytime
it doesn't matter. I mean, anybody can run on that.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's look, they're still an SEC squad. You know, I've always said Billy and Sale, they dial up some good run schemes, and they did the other night. We blocked them well. At times we didn't. I mean, you're not going to win every play. I think people need to realize that. The other team has some good players. They get their own scholarship as well. They're going to make some plays.
Well, the news yesterday was the suspensions.
That's what I was going to ask you. So
Okay.
Mazuka, Xanders, and Big Damian George all suspended for the first half. I know Billy also said they were going to do some little in-house suspension as well, right?
Well, I think he didn't know what was coming at that point.
I got you.
He's like, I hadn't heard anything. We're doing in-house. And maybe he is doing more in-house. Maybe those guys are doing stadiums, you know, before the sun came up today, and they probably should be. I mean, Damian George, it's like, come on, man. You know, you jump on the first play. I mean, the guy's got like 4 penalties this year, if not 5. He's got at least 4. And then he's running up on that guy. I get it, man. I asked it, Devin Moore, even, you know, the cornerback, who's great. He's a good talker, good kid. Really like kind of just his whole like vibe. He's a nice kid. I'm like, how often do you get mad on the football field? Right? Because Billy's talking about like keeping your composure. And we're asking Devin, he's talking about like, we gotta, you know, you gotta just not. I said, so how often do you get mad out on the field? And he's like, oh man, I mean, it's like almost every play you're wanting to go just jack some guy up, right? I mean, blindsided, dude. That's the sport. So you can't be doing that. And then Mazuka, it's like, I get it, you're from Philly, man, but I mean, he's like pulling a Joe Frazier on that guy, and it was a little much. But Billy, I don't think was pleased, and he talked about it openly. I mean, Billy deflects a lot of the time. You've watched enough of his press conferences. He just does not want to dig in on certain answers, but he talked about that openly. He said, hey, some of our staff probably should have gotten disciplined, that they weren't behaving the way he expects.
Yeah. So he also talked in his press conference, I believe, about having success, and we'd win a game last year and then fall flat on our face the following week. Edgar, you're around the team more than I am. I go to a few practices, and then I'm around them in the hotel on road trips and stuff. But I just feel like, I know everybody knows I like Graham Mertz, but I just think he's such a mature leader that I just feel like this team is a more mature football team. Am I reading it wrong, or do you feel that way?
No, I think he's been a huge influence. I mean, it's funny. Yesterday, the quarterback's coach, Justin Hoover, remember I wrote about the guy?
Right.
You read the story, I think.
Yeah.
He sent me just a fist, like a fist pound, right? Just out of nowhere. And then my response to him was 75.8 completion percentage. And he's like, accuracy issues. And then we kind of started rolling from there. But that was his bottom line. I was looking right here. Passionate, tough football junkie. And he said Graham's leadership is starting to become more accepted. And sometimes it's just talk until you kind of do it. So I think that the team to a man they just gush about the guy, about his maturity, about his football intelligence. And maybe you were even saying when we talked a couple weeks ago, there's lining up and there's lined up and they're ready to go. He's has a new lease on life here and is taking advantage of it. Look, the guy's not attacking downfield. I mean, the average yards per attempt aren't like off the charts. I mean, this isn't like, he's not having some transcendent season here, but he's doing what they need to do, and he's moving the chains, sustaining drives, and getting guys in the right place. So he's been great. And it definitely, the team seems to be more mature, but in terms of handling success, this is what I was going to write about when we're done here. That's what I'm writing for tomorrow, because that news broke yesterday. I was going to write that yesterday. And that's the key. Last year, they won the Utah game, flop against Kentucky, win at A&M, solid win, beat the doors off of South Carolina, and go lose at Vandy. And it's like, and then the whole season kind of went in decline. So it's tough. You start thinking about, like, Billy talks about it, and you start to realize, and I've been covering sports many years, and you're always learning something or having the light bulb go on, and just managing that, how hard that is as a coach, right? Everyone's telling you how great you are. Everyone's telling you how crappy you were. You had to fight through that. Now you got to fight through everyone telling you how great you are, when really the reality is you're probably closer to the middle. You're not as bad as you were against Utah, and you're not as great as you were during the first half against Tennessee. So he's got to balance all that and lead a ton of young people and keep them grounded. It's a tough job.
Yeah, there's no question. But yeah, it's kind of good that you got a Charlotte in between Kentucky.
Especially when you don't have half your offensive line.
Right. Andy's question for you, Edgar, on the Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. Can you recall a Gator running back with better vision and quickness in hitting a hole than Trevor Etienne?
The guy's a stud. And in fact, during this fall camp, someone who's around the team every day, we were just chatting, and he's like, man, Etienne's the best player on this team, and it's not even close. And I'm like, really? And then you saw it the other night. And the kid has just got acceleration, instincts, vision. And he's special. And it's funny. So there have been 8 games with 170 yards or more since 2000, this century, basically. Ernest Graham had one of them against UAB. I mean, what's that matter? Then you had the big day against Georgia. That's the last time anyone did that. Jones and Kelvin Taylor, you remember 14 when they ran them off the field. Ciatric Faison had 3 of them in 2004. I don't know if you remember that season. He had an incredible year, C4. Good kid. But this guy, man, doesn't happen often. And it could happen again. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, Etienne is outstanding. Still the best running back that had great vision, speed, power, all of that to me was Fred Taylor.
I mean, he was a home run hitter, man.
Oh,
even if you go look at his NFL career, like long 50-yard touchdown runs and more, I mean, he's up there.
David says, Coach Billy Napier's words regarding composure was a life and culture lesson that these men can take to heart. It was awesomely perfect. I can sit there and listen to him talk after a game or before a game, when they videotape what's going on in the locker room. I just think he's outstanding when it comes to that kind of stuff. So people keep texting me on the Take No More text line about our vertical passing game, multiple texts on here. I've talked about it. Do I want to see us throw it down the field? Yes. And let me just preface this. Graham Mertz has plenty of arm strength to throw the ball down the field. We just have to realize that's not who Billy is, at least not now. Billy he called some. We got sacked on a couple of when we try to take shots, but that's just not who he is. I don't know if that's going to change. Maybe it will, but just to answer the question, that Mertz, and we have guys that can stretch the field, he can get the ball to them. Maybe we hit some deep balls in one of these games that gives us a win. So you got any thoughts on that at all, Edgar?
Well, I mentioned it already. I mean, the yards per attempt, I don't have it in front of me. I was going to look it up. It doesn't matter. And that's the measure. When they do like quarterback rating, NFL, I mean,
yeah.
TD and interception ratio and average yards per attempt are 2 huge variables in that formula. And that's what he's 3-1 on that. TD to interception. He's not throwing tons of TDs, and his average yards per attempt isn't like crazy. But I'm telling you, 75.8 completion percentage is 20 plus points above what Anthony was throwing last year, and it's 15 plus above what Graham was doing. So that's solid. And I get it. Some of the throws are a little easy and all that, but guys missing easy throws. Joe Milton was missing easy throws. Joe Milton had a throw the other night, that one in the seam on Jaden Hill, man. I mean, that was a throw, right? That 43-yarder. I mean, that was a throw. But he didn't have a whole lot of those.
That's what the NFL people fall in love with, and that's why they get fired. Because
I'll tell you this, man. My one negative on this game, okay, other than that fight at the end, was, and I wrote this afterwards, that you're playing on a field name for Steve Spurrier, okay? Something comes with that. And Steve Spurrier went for the jugular. And they would have scored 40. That would have been a 45-10 game with Steve Spurrier. And Billy got very conservative. They had 58 yards on 25 plays. There was I think it was a deal where they were first and goal from the 6. They ran 3 times right up the center's rear end and kicked a field goal. And Tennessee had some chances. I mean, they were stopped 3 times on 4th down, excuse me. They jumped offside on that 4th and 1 from the Gators 34, when I don't think Florida's really going to go for it, but they blew it, and they kept blowing it. And that's going to catch you eventually if you do that. I thought he got a little too conservative. I'm wondering what your thoughts are.
Well, I agree.
He said it himself.
That's not how I like to call plays or play, but that's who Billy is. And I do understand from a standpoint of the clock rules. The one series when we had it, I talked about it before you came on. Somebody asked a question about, I think we were on like the 10-yard line and we ran it 3 times, never threw it in the end zone.
6.
Which I even said on the broadcast, I didn't have a problem with it, Edgar, only because the clock was running and it made it a 3-possession game. You know, with and making it still 2 possession as explosive as Tennessee can be, it's dicey. But when you kick it, you know, last thing we need to do is if Mertz were to throw an interception or a phone, I mean, you just never know. But is he conservative? Yes. I do think he has pass plays in there. I think he really trusts his quarterback. We just hope as the season progresses, we can step on somebody's throat, as you mentioned. Let me see here. Reggie says on Facebook, like, QB, if Mertz comes back next year, which he's coming back, he ain't going pro, and Napier can hold on to Armstrong, what do you think this Florida team can achieve? Well, Reggie, I think the team can win as many games as I said they were going to do this year. Because you look at the schedule, you don't know which LSU team's going to show up, and we're jumping ahead of ourselves here. LSU is very explosive. Georgia is very pedestrian. We know they got great players, but the loss of Stetson Bennett, they ain't going to overcome that right now. Everybody else is very beatable. And that's why when I looked at the schedule, I thought the team Florida was just as good as everybody else. We just got to go play. And, you know, that's just my 2 cents. I'm still sticking with 8 or 9 wins.
I think the 3 games at LSU, look, LSU looked bad against Florida State in the second half, looked pretty damn good the other day. Brian Kelly's outstanding. At LSU, big ass. Georgia, they're just talent-wise, just another level, man. I mean, we'll see how they come together, or the Bulldogs. And Florida State, man's good. I mean, they look tough. They look bad at Boston College. We'll find out more this weekend with Clemson. It's an incredible. You know what sucks, Shane? I wish this was the Gators bye week. Because, I mean, Charlotte, it's just like, it's hard to get up for these kind of games. And I'm interested. I mean, I have a little juice after this week, and I want to watch the Gators play. But, man, this is a great college football weekend.
Yeah,
We're
right.
Missing all these games.
Yeah, that's true. Anna says or asks and states on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, is the lack of downfield passing due to lack of confidence in our blocking ability? Last year, Anthony scrambled a lot to mass suspect pass blocking. There's probably some truth to that. You know, you don't really sometimes downfield passing doesn't take much longer than it's all timing. You know, you take your steps and let it go. You can whiff sometimes and still get balls off. But there were a couple of times when we took shots the other day where we max protected and they still or we missed up on our assignment. We had somebody coming open late, but he got sacked. So it's still a work in progress. We got another question for you here, Edgar. Let me find it. Here it is right here. It's from Ken on Facebook Live. He says, Edgar, what kind of shirt were you wearing for Billy to call you out the other day before your question?
Oh yeah, that was a little odd. I felt bad. I actually need to wear that shirt on Wednesday and show him what it really is. It's like a skull and crossbones, but the crossbones are T's. So Mike Flasky is the CEO of Diamond Resorts, good guy, and he calls himself the vacation doctor. And he gave me one of the shirts, mailed me a shirt because I covered the Diamond Resorts LPGA season opening Tournament of Champions event. And Billy, I don't know. I mean, I'm coming in there. They're coming off that horrible performance. I'm wearing a skull and crossbones shirt. I don't know what he thought that was about. But I mean, the Raiders, that's what the Raiders shirt looks like. And I was a Raiders fan as a kid because of Stabler. I'll say this, to your point a second ago. The right side of the offensive line, again, Damian George. It's like, you're doing dumb things at the end, and you're not really still playing that great yet, right? That right side of that offensive line is breaking down a bit. I mean, Mertz was running a lot and throwing. Remember the first quarter? He was running to the west or the east a lot and having to throw a few times. So they got to shore that up.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know Mazuka got beat a couple of times in pass protection because he didn't block anybody. It was like he didn't have his head on the swivel and keeping his eyes up. Sometimes linemen, this is at every level, even in the NFL, they just think the guy in front of you is going to rush. They do twists, they do stunts. And so if your guy leaves, Edgar, somebody's coming to you. They're not just going to let you block air.
Yes.
So, but sometimes even you could practice that, and they just don't do their job.
Well, peripheral vision's hard to have with those helmets. It's like when you put a helmet on, it just such a change.
No, that is true. But again, it comes down to football IQ, realizing
I get it.
Somebody's coming in this gap eventually. G asked both of us here, does it look like Montrell Johnson has lost a step? I don't know, boy. On that touchdown run he had, we didn't block anybody, and they over pursued. He put his foot in the ground and got vertical and scored. He did get dinged up. What happened to him? Do you know?
He was back in the game. No idea. Who knows? You get dinged up all the time. I mean, in the sport, right? I'll tell you this. He just doesn't look as quick as ETN, but ETN looks faster. His acceleration, and again, it's what I used to like about Percy, Kadarius Toney, the really explosive. Callaway's freshman year was phenomenal. It's easy to forget because his life and everything just went off the rails. Guys who can run full speed and maintain their acceleration while making little cuts and moves. He's one of those guys, and that's hard to do, man.
Okay, Brian says on Facebook Live, the ball definitely hits the ground, then 4 seconds later, he creams Travis Hunter. I don't know about 4 seconds later. There's no way. So, the hit that Travis Hunter got injured on? I started the show because it's been a big deal. I personally didn't think it was cheap. Because I know when you're running 100 miles an hour, you can't slow down. And I just don't think it was dirty. That's just me personally. Everybody else disagrees with me. That's fine.
Well, the way he stood over him, I didn't like, and that kind of made it look dirtier, but I kind of agree. I mean, it was pretty close to the sideline. I'll tell you this, Sanders' kid, I think did you mention this on here? Man, when we were last time, man, that guy's awesome.
He's good. He's the reason they're winning games.
His poll, they're got 2 impossible games coming up. They're probably gonna be 3-2, but it's still pretty incredible.
Yeah, and it is, but they're getting ready to hit reality. But Deion's kid is the only reason they're winning games. He's ridiculous.
He's phenomenal. Best, most important player in the country. I don't know about the best.
Yeah, he's a good one for sure. All right, Edgar. So what are you preparing for all your listeners and readers this week? Any good stories?
Well, yeah, I'm doing the handling success thing, and then I'm just, doing some analysis stuff. But this isn't a heavy lift this week. I have some interviews over in Jacksonville Thursday for a story that's coming down the road that people will really enjoy. I don't want to reveal quite yet, but I'll talk about on here. I'll tell you, man. I want to write a little about Austin Armstrong and Billy. We got couple minutes because I am interested to hear what you have to say. I enjoy Billy too. I really enjoy hearing people talk about perspective, about motivation, things like that, especially at my age. I like to hear that, talking about, making the most of each day. And he's got a lot of young people who, as I said earlier, he's trying to mold, who he's trying to instill maturity and things into. I wish I had that influence on me on a daily basis when I was that age. I certainly could have used it. But how that messaging falls onto certain fans. The man earlier who brought it up, I don't know how old he is. He probably might be an older guy who appreciates that stuff. I just don't know, man. Sometimes when Billy comes in, he starts talking about all that stuff after games. He does it after losses too. And I don't know. His messaging, I get it. I mean, Billy's dad was such an influence on him. And he was a front of the church, front pew guy every Sunday at church. He was just a good man. When he got ALS, when he was 55 years old, I wrote this a couple years ago when Billy first got hired. His dad was sending positive affirmations, parables, whatever, Proverbs. I mean, via text message to hundreds of people a day until the day he died. Every day. The day before he died, he was sending stuff to people. His dad sounds like an amazing guy. Billy's a genuine article. I mean, this isn't a guy who's just saying up in his BSing people. But I wonder sometimes if that messaging, people want to hear more about the football, or they want to hear him praise certain people. Like Austin Armstrong, I've asked him 3 times now, what is Austin Armstrong doing? He will not go there. I mean, maybe he realizes he is a 30-year-old guy who's pretty cocky and all that. And he's great. That cockiness, man, is awesome. And the players love it. But maybe he doesn't want to build his head up too much. I don't know what you think about Billy's messaging. You seem to like it. I like it. Some fans.
Well, he's got I mean, let's be honest. This is Nick Saban. I mean, when he talks to the media, he's a little more personable than Saban. Sure. Speaking on that, we had a couple of texts wanting to know if we saw the pictures. I don't know who tweeted them, of Billy after the game. It was about midnight. He's out on the field recruiting kids.
Oh yeah, he was out there for an hour. I mean, it was amazing. Mark Long noticed it. Who, the AP writer I did the pod with. He brought it up. He's like, Billy is just out on that field, man, just working it. It's like he's kissing all the babies. He was doing it all. That was the thing, man. He was the other night, he even talked about it. He got 268 text messages, and he barely read any of them. He said, I read them fast, and he said I deleted most of them, which, sorry if you texted Billy, you didn't read your text, but he's like, I got work to do. But he said you get 268 after a game like that, you get 0 after Utah. Like nobody, and then you're on campus, and people don't even want to look at you because they're embarrassed for you. So that was good stuff. He gets life, man. I mean, and it's bigger to him than football. But, all fans, for the most part, I don't want to, generalize everybody. Most fans care about 12 Saturdays. And, Billy's looking at a lot of different things than that.
Yeah, there's no question. Well, Edgar, we appreciate your time. Let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter, read all your stuff, listen to your podcast.
OS Gators. It'll all be there on Twitter. All
right. Good stuff, Edgar. We'll see you Saturday in the press box, my man.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, that's Edgar Thompson. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow hotline. Let's get to This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. 2004 Oakland Raider wide receiver Jerry Rice ends the NFL streak of 274 consecutive games with a reception in a 13-10 victory of the Buffalo Bills. That's brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA Credit Union. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Appreciate everybody texting, not tweeting, but sending us messages and stuff. We love y'all's interaction. And we'll be here same time tomorrow, folks. Have a great day. Take care.